Revivifications happen all the time in everyday life. Okay? That's where you're in a situation and you hear a song. You know, and all of a sudden, man, are you, it's like, and you were transported in time and space to a whole different era of your life that you may or may not remember well. Okay? Right. But you know you're there. The details could be fuzzy, okay? But you do know you're there. So that's the idea of revivification. It happens lots of times where, you know, it's just basically in NLP, we call it an anchor. It's just where an anchor gets triggered and it reminds a person of a particular experience. How this is going to differ from what we've done in traditional NLP trainings is, and this is the main difference between an Ericksonian approach to things and some of the things that we've done in NLP. NLP, and for those of you that don't know it, Neuro-linguistic programming, is more structured. So the thing that's cool about NLP is it gives you structure. It goes, there's 7 steps to this, you do these 7 steps and just you get this end result. What's happened over the years with NLP is that it can get at times very reductionistic, meaning that people have eaten the menu. They've mistook the map for the territory. They think that's really the way it is. And they do like a revivification, like, okay, think of that time in the past when you were X. Okay, go be there now. Great. Okay, see what you see, feel what you feel, hear what you hear. That's what they used to do in the old days. It's a little on the utilitarian, you know, sort of robotic kind of style. The difference between NLP and the Ericksonian stuff is John Grinder and Richard Bandler, who were the developers, they wanted to create the structure and take away a lot of the fluff to make it easier for people to understand. That's great as a starting point, but the problem is it takes, when you take away the so-called fluff, you take away all the artistry and all the elegance that Erickson had. So what to me, what the Ericksonian stuff does is it puts a lot more creativity and elegance and much more around being present with your client. It takes you much more into that space rather than having a lot of structures in your head when you're working with people. Revivification in a more Ericksonian way. Here's what Erickson would do. And yeah, we're in good time here. Erickson he'd have a client come in. And he was like in Phoenix, and the client would sit down. And Erickson would be he'd say something like, you know, because the person would be all prepared to talk about their problem, and Erickson would go, wow, you know, he'd just interrupt them. He'd say something like, wow, nice weather we're having, isn't it? The person goes, mm-hmm. About what, 76 degrees out there? Yeah, I guess so. And then he would say something like, you look pretty tan. You been on vacation? Person go, well, yeah, well, now that you mention it, yeah. Where'd you go? Oh, I went up to, what's the dam up there north of Phoenix? Hoover Dam. Went up to Hoover Dam. I was in my bass boat. Oh, so you're in your bass boat there out on the reservoir. Yeah. And what kind of day is it? Oh, it's just gorgeous. I think it's a Sunday, and it's the sun shining, and I'm just sitting out there. Erickson's like, the sun's shining, you're just sitting out there. Guy goes, yeah. Erickson says, what you doing? I'm just taking my line and I'm just casting it out. Erickson's like, yeah, you're just taking your line and casting it out. The guy goes, yeah. So what do you do? He says, I'm just watching the bobber. Just waiting for that bobber to go down. Erickson says, that's right. You're just waiting for that bobber to go down, aren't you? The guy goes, yeah. And Erickson said, and what's it feel like to actually just be sitting there watching that bobber waiting for it to go all the way down? With the sun on your face, and you're out in the boat, and it's just you, and the guy goes, it feels so peaceful. And Erickson says, that's right, so peaceful. What else do you like to do with your time? Well, I don't know. You know, sometimes I like to go for a drive. You like to go for a drive. What do you like about going for a drive? Well, you know, out here in Arizona, it's just great because you can just get on a road and you can just drive forever. That's right. You can get on a road and drive forever. Yeah. What do you like about that? I just like the feeling of freedom I have. It's just wide open spaces. That's right, freedom. Wide open spaces. Guy goes, yeah. Erickson goes, freedom. Wide open spaces, guys. Yeah. And Erickson says, so peaceful. And the guy goes, yeah. And Erickson says, what else do you like to do? See, so literally that's a lot different than, okay, can you think of a time when you were peaceful? Great. I'd like you to go be there now. Okay? Go be there now. See what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel. Okay? A little different. So part of what he was doing is it's the same approach, or same overall idea, but the approach is very different. It's much more conversational. It's much more letting the person have the experience. And literally what he would do is he might do that with a whole bunch of different experiences that the person had, so that he's got these, and in NLP terms it's called an anchor. All that is it's like a cue. It's like an auditory cue that he can say back to the person, that if he says it in the same way that the person said it, with the same spirit, if you will, behind it, it's likely to generate that same state. So now he's got all these set up for future use. He may use them, he may not use them. It just depends. But he's already got, it's like a carpenter, he's already got a whole bunch of tools out on the table that are ready to go. He may use them, he may not, it doesn't matter. And at the same time, you think this guy's going to go, that Erickson's a hell of a nice guy. Who doesn't want to talk about positive, deep trance experiences? Just like you will tomorrow. So that's where we're headed, and what I'm going to show you is there's two other main pieces, and honestly and truly, once you get the other ones, you're going to be able to pick up any Ericksonian transcript or anybody who's ever done that kind of work, and you're going to be able to see that all that they've really got going most of the time are these three techniques, not necessarily by themselves, but in concert with each other. And then it's just a matter of what content do you use, what the client tells you. So that's what you use to sort of fill it up, but you understand what the structure is in terms of what you have to do to create a context where it's going to be easy for them to go into trance. Everybody get the idea? So, and this does have, especially revivification, has a lot of application outside of therapy and coaching and stuff like that. If you want somebody to be in a state of receptivity, then you might want to get them in it, or if you want them to really consider something that you're saying, you might want to make sure that they're in that state before you ask them to consider it. And it's one of the biggest mistakes in regular communication in business. Somebody's making a request to somebody else, and the person who is being asked to do the thing is not even close to the state they need to be in to ever want to do the thing that they're being asked to do. See, so as a great communicator, if you go, you know what, I need to get the person in the ballpark here before I have them go and try and hit the ball out of it. You get a lot more effective when you're around people then. So that's where we're headed.